centuries. The Royal Exchange, for example, built in 1565, was burned down twice and finally rebuilt in 1844 to present a portion of gigantic columns as the proud face of the Victorian Empire. Most of the halls of the city livery companies, originally guilds of master craftsmen, have been rebuilt several times since the Middle Ages, but they still house a wealth of antique furnishings, pictures and plate. Particular streets came to be associated with particular crafts and trades. The grocers were to be found in Soper's Lane, now Queen Street, the merchant tailors in Birchin Lane, the drapers in Candlewick, the fishmongers were at Billingsgate, and the Fishmongers' Company still controls Billingsgate Market with officers known as fish meters, checking on the freshness of the wares. The goldsmiths had the authority of a royal proclamation for their presence in Cheapside and Lombard Street. This was a form of medieval window dressing. Cheapside was the highway into London for foreigners coming from there. The docks, and the idea was to impress them with the taste and wealth of the capital. In cracks in the present commercial masonry, more convivial needs are met by the lively city chop houses and taverns, such are Simpson's, Town Ball Court, and the George and Vulture, Mr. Pickwick's pub, but Chaucer knew it too when it was only the George. The border between the city and Westminster is marked by a strip of gardens, courts, lawns and passages running north from the Thames for about 3/4 of a mile. This is legal London, the Inns of Court, where the lawyers work and some still live. To the west is Westminster, with an antiquity almost as venerable as that of the city. There was a small Roman settlement there, but its national importance began with Edward the Confessor, who started rebuilding Westminster Abbey in circa 1050. For nearly 1,000 years and almost without a break, Westminster has remained the site of the court and the seat of government. William III moved his court to Kensington, but the Georges moved back to Westminster, to St. James's Palace, and Queen Victoria finally settled at Buckingham Palace. By the mid-18th century, the Prime Minister was established in what is now Downing Street, and in time the apparatus of government, the civil service, absorbed virtually the whole of Whitehall. The present buildings housing the great departments of state, such as the Home Office and the Foreign Office, mostly date from the confident mid-Victorian era. About half of London is built on land held under lease, a system begun by the 4th Earl of Southampton in 1660, when he laid out Bloomsbury Square as a speculative development. Speculative building had started 29 years earlier, when the Earl of Bedford was granted a licence to build on Covent Garden, once the garden of Westminster Abbey's convent. The Earl commissioned Inigo Jones as his architect. London acquired its first square, and the Russells, an investment that remained in the family until 1914. After the Restoration, 1660, the high servants of the Crown moved into the area. stuccoed opulence of Belgravia. What Wren had been to the city, John Nash, 1752 to 1835, was to the West End. In an age of patrons, he had the greatest patron of all, the Prince Regent, later George IV, who gave Nash the chance to set about town planning on an ambitious scale. Between 1810 and 1830, he planned Regent's Park from a rough heathland belonging to the Duke of Portland, Waterloo Place, Cortland House Terrace and Regent Street. Nash's buildings in Regent Street have vanished almost entirely, but the theatrical scale of his conception can be assessed from surviving terraces at Golden House and around Regent's Park. With Wren, he is perhaps the greatest of those artists and craftsmen who, finding that London has always offered them the best patronage and livelihood, have responded generously to make it the unique and fascinating city it is. Okay, so now we have a London gazetteer. The sites described here are all in the main metropolitan area and listed alphabetically with their addresses. At the end of the section are picture spreads on the major museums and art galleries. Let's have a look at that first. So it's quite a big section. Here we go. Westminster Abbey. Okay, let's have a look at this. Now, I do have a little bit of ribbon somewhere, I think. Or maybe not. Okay, can't really find it at the moment. It's like a bookmark. Right, Westminster Abbey. Since the 11th century, Westminster Abbey has been the usual place for the coronation of English monarchs, and most of the medieval English kings from the time of Henry III were buried there. The present abbey was begun by Henry III, 1216 to 72, on the site of the 11th century building erected by the royal saint Edward the Confessor, whose body lies in the great 13th century shrine at the east end of the church. Henry III never finished the building, and the nave was only completed after 1375, but the French Gothic style of the previous century was adhered to, so that most of the abbey gives the impression of a building designed and built as a whole. The latest addition, major addition, was Henry VII's chapel, begun in 1503. It is the chapel of the Order of the Bath, and the banners of the Knights of the Order hang there. This is a picture of it above. The west front gives the appearance of having been constructed during one period, but it represents 600 years of alteration and restorations. In the 18th century, both Christopher Wren and Nicholas Hawksmoor worked on its two main towers. So this photograph here shows the coronation chair. Since the reign of Edward II, all but two English sovereigns have been crowned on the coronation chair in Westminster Abbey. In fact, King Charles III had his coronation sitting on this very throne this year. It was made of English oak to hold the stone of scone or scone there. The coronation seat of Scotland's kings, which was seized by Edward I in 1297 to demonstrate Scotland's subservience. thousands of prints and drawings illustrate the history of graphic art from the 15th century onwards, and statues, tombs, mummies, and fragments of architectural antiquities link the Assyrian, Egyptian, Greek, and Persian with his Romano-British and Anglo-Saxon counterpart. Now this is from the Milton Hall treasure, the Great Dish. In 1942, a group of silver vessels was found buried near Milton Hall on the borders of the Fens. The hoard was probably hidden for safety and never recovered. This Great Dish is perhaps his finest piece. Inside the beaded rim, the figure frieze depicts the triumph of Bacchus over Hercules. The figures include Bacchus, the god of wine, Hercules, Silenus, a foster father of Bacchus, Pan, satyrs, and priestesses of Bacchus. Inside this is a zone of sea nymphs riding a sea monster, and in the central medallion there is a bearded mask, probably of Oceanus, a sea god. The dish, possibly dating from the 3rd century, is approximately 2 feet in diameter and weighs more than 18 pounds. It was made in a workshop in the Mediterranean area, probably in Rome itself, and was buried during the troubled years that saw the end of Roman rule in Britain when the Anglo-Saxons were invading. And these are various artefacts from the British Museum. And that's the natural history section of the British Museum. The Courtauld Institute Galleries. The London Museum. The extensive collection of exhibits in the London Museum represents the life and history of London from the earliest times to the present day. The museum was founded and opened to the public in 1912 in the State Apartments at Kensington Palace. In 1913 it was moved to Stafford House, later renamed Lancaster House, and in 1951 it was moved back to Kensington Palace until more permanent accommodation can be found for the collections. The main exhibition rooms are arranged chronologically, and the exhibits range from the crude, flint implements of the Old Stone Age to the special exhibit illustrating the growth of the modern postal and fire services. Other rooms are devoted to royal gifts and loans, prints and drawings, the law, the theatre, and children's toys. Now, all this jewellery is the Cheapside hoard. This hoard of jewellery, probably part of city merchants stuck in trade, hidden in Cheapside early in the 17th century, provides unique This is Van Eyck's The Marriage of Arnolfini. Caravaggio. The Tate Gallery. This is a work by Modigliani, Kandinsky, Picasso, Hogarth. The Victoria and Albert Museum. Prince Albert, the Prince Consort, planned a great complex of museums and colleges at South Kensington, with money derived from the Great Exhibition of 1851. The South Kensington Museum, a collective museum of science and art, was erected. Opened in 1857, it incorporated the collections of the Museums of Ornamental Art opened at Marlborough House in 1852. The art department grew rapidly to include fine and applied arts of all kinds, represented chiefly by post-classical European art and that of the Near and Far East. Eventually, because of lack of space, the science exhibits were moved to the new Science Museum nearby. In 1899, Queen Victoria laid the foundation stone of the present building, designed by Sir Aston Webb. She stipulated that the title be changed to Victoria and Albert Museum, and in 1909 Edward VII opened the new building. It now contains one of the world's outstanding collections of fine and applied arts. This is the Scion Gospel cover, a German manuscript from the 12th century. The Wallace collection is said to be the most valuable single gift ever made by an individual to any nation. It was built up mainly in Paris by the 3rd and 4th Marquises of Hereford and by Sir Richard Wallace, son of the 4th Marquis. In 1871, after the siege of Paris by the Prussians, Sir Richard came to live in England, bringing most of the collection over with him. It was bequeathed to the British nation by Sir Richard's widow, Lady Wallace, who died in 1897. So let's go back a little bit. Now I'll read out some of the other places in London. Lots of churches. Church of St. Martin in the Fields. There has probably been a church here since before the 13th century, when fields stretched between the city of Westminster. A 16th century church had become unsafe by 1720, and James Gibbs was asked to build the present one, his masterpiece, with his name and the completion date, 1726, carved on the pediment. Cleopatra's Needle, Victoria Embankment, SW1, a 68.5 feet high obelisk of granite given to the nation in 1819 by Muhammad Ali of Egypt. It Charterhouse. Charterhouse Square, founded as a Carthusian monastery in 1371, the buildings became a private dwelling after the dissolution of the monasteries in 1537. Thomas Sutton bought them in 1611 and endowed them as a charity.